Hey friends, Mr. E here, and today we're going to talk about elites, specials, and bosses, because these are the enemies that give flavor to Darktide, that actually make it the game that it is, and actually, sort of turn up the temperature of combat. It is certainly also what you'll be coming up against as you progress deeper and deeper into the difficulties in Darktide. You'll see so many more of these sorts of enemies. It seems to be the way that Fat Shark is balancing the game, is just by hurtling hordes and hordes of elites and specialists and bosses at us. So best to know how to counter them and what priority you should have when you're facing these enemies. Which ones are the ones that are absolutely deadly and you need to be devoting all your attention to, and which ones can you leave until absolutely last. So what I'm going to be doing here is sort of talking through each of the specials and elites, etc., showing them on the screen and showing you the move set that they have, and then telling you how threatening I find this enemy and how threatening I think that you should treat this enemy as. Is this an enemy that you should be investing a lot of resources in removing, or is it an enemy that perhaps we can let sort of do its thing and then we'll come back around to him at the end? So with that being said, if you enjoy this sort of tutorial, educational / opinion based content, if you like what I'm doing here and you like Darktide and you want to support the channel, well, you can become a member. You can become a channel member and get some extra bonuses, or just subscribe and like the video. That helps as well. Okay, let's begin. We're going to start with the sniper. The sniper is actually, I think, like maybe my second favorite special, actually my second favorite enemy in the game. The sniper is such a good design for what it's supposed to do. The sniper will find a position, usually pretty dang far away from you, and then slowly turn and put a laser on you. Now, this laser has a certain maximum rotational speed, so at close ranges, the sniper can't catch up, but once they do, they'll lock on like that. I actually do need to turn my sound on here, so you can actually hear. So, the sniper is really good at holding down long lines of sight, and the farther away you are, the better the sniper is, because it allows the laser to traverse more ground. So what the sniper will often do is just add a little bit of complexity in a combat where otherwise, you're just fighting some horde, fighting whatever's in front of you here, and then the sniper laser appears on you, and you sort of gotta do this dance at the same time that you're fighting stuff. You gotta be, timing out that, oh, well, after this amount of time, when I hear that noise, I need to throw out a dodge. The fortunate thing is that just spamming dodge is enough to throw out the sniper and avoid their laser entirely, but throwing out random dodges, it'll only get you so far when you're engaging other enemies in melee combat. But the sniper itself is not very threatening. Obviously, the sniper shows you exactly where it is when it has the laser on you, and it has almost no health. And he's very noticeable when he's moving around the map, because he makes like a jingle, jingle, jingle sound with his buckles. So overall, I would rate the sniper very low in terms of threats. The sniper can be pretty much left for last. Tons of other enemies can do way more damage and be way more effective. And of course, if you've got a gold toughness on you, like a shout, veteran shout, you can just straight up tank a sniper shot to the face, and you'll be just fine. Let's hopefully he does it before it wears out. Yeah, there you go. See, I'm A-okay there, and I can even retaliate and be just fine. So yeah, sniper, low priority. Leave these guys alone unless there's like absolutely nothing else to shoot at, because usually there's some other stuff that's way more threatening. And let's go on to another enemy that's pretty low on that tier list. Let's go into the shotgunner. Okay, so our shotgunner here, the shotgun is a kind of a peculiar enemy. He has two modes. He has a melee and a shotgun mode. The melee mode, you can get him to activate it if you get close to him and you have your melee weapon out. If you get far enough away and you pull out your ranged weapon, he'll swap. See this? He'll kind of mirror our energy. So we can abuse that with the shotgunner. Obviously, his melee mode is not threatening at all. This guy does next to no melee damage. Like, actually, let's get hit and see how much we do. Oh yeah, that's like nothing. So yeah, he's dealing less damage than comparable, like, normal enemies do. Just non-elite enemies. And so yeah, he's not a threat at all in melee. So when you get close to these guys, just try to get in close on them, as with normal gunners, and pull out your melee, and he will mirror that energy. However, when you're farther away and he has his shotgun out, the shotgun does do quite a bit of damage. And the real scary part is right there. When he gets a meat shot, you saw that first shot was kind of a glancing shot. It doesn't really break your toughness much at all. But when they do hit that meat shot, they can break your toughness in one hit, and it'll stagger you at the same time. And then guess what? The second shot is coming right afterwards, and you better get ready to dodge or do something to stop him from putting it on you, because yeah, he'll wipe you out. Now, fortunately for us, the shotgunner is really, really weak. Like, they have super, super low HP, and I think that's probably the #1 thing that's holding them back right now, is these guys have next to no life on their bars. Like, these guys die to pretty much a stiff breeze. I do have super impact on right now, by the way. So yeah, don't be too afraid of shotgunners. Honestly, one person can just go into an infinite pack of shotgunners and tear them up. When you go into them on melee, they're going to swap and pull out a weapon that can't even hurt you. And on ranged, most of them are dying in like 1 or 2 bullets. I think the shotgunner is absolutely the lowest possible tier in terms of threats. Not really a threat at all. Now we will go on to... oh, that's another shotgunner. Now we will go on to the plasma gunner. So the plasma gunner is actually quite similar to the shotgunner because these two share the same AI. You can see this by doing this. I can see now that he'll swap weapons like that. So the way you counter these guys is by getting in close and threatening them. Now these guys have a lot more HP than the shotgunner does, and they can hurt you a lot more at long range here. As you can see here, this guy's going to take quite a big chunk of my toughness out of me. So yeah, definitely something you got to be aware of. And they have flak armor all over, plus a carapace head, just like the Maulers do, so they're a little bit more resilient to headshots. But these guys have fallen very, very far since where they were when they were released. I think maybe that's still the video that I have on my channel. Like my main channel video is complaining about these guys on launch because they were insanely broken. They were so overpowered. They would spawn in waves of like 12 or more, and they would all blast their lasers at the same time, and they would instantly break your toughness, and they would chunk your HP for like 45 damage. They were nuts in the amount of damage they could deal and how fast they could shoot and how silently they could creep up on you. Now, not only is all that damage nerfed and their fire rate is super nerfed and the tells for when they're going to fire is like very, very obvious, but additionally, these guys like seemingly never spawn. You'll go whole games and not see more than like 1 or 2 of these guys, if you see any at all. And really, because they're in such small numbers mixed into hordes, I just don't ever find them to be all that threatening. They barely get to throw out any shots at all because they only shoot like once every 3 seconds and they have to lock onto you. So whereas like, you know, you'd expose yourself like this as you're running across an open area to like a normal gunner and he'll shoot a bunch of shots. He'll know he's there, but this guy might only shoot like 1 or 0 shots. So these guys, I'm going to put them in the pretty low tier alongside like the second lowest sort of tier here. Let's actually formalize our tier list here. I'm going to say that the lowest tier I will call not a threat at all. The second tier above that, these enemies like the plasma gunner, only threatening if you are not paying attention. So as long as you're paying attention, you're going to be okay. Then past that, we're going to talk about enemies that are actually kind of threatening, like the gunners. Gunners are a real threat. They are legitimately a threatening enemy in Darktide because these guys put out a crazy amount of DPS. So yeah, well, as you can see there, once they start going, they can actually start to shred you, and it's not usually like just them alone that's doing all the damage, but these guys will spawn like 3 or more of them, and they'll just start to do this thing, and then you've got a lot of damage to contend with all of a sudden. Like, you are just getting torn apart. Yeah, it's like once they reach a critical mass that you seriously have a problem with these gunners. And now that they've added the ability for these guys to strafe and move, they can pose a lot more of a threat because they can get away from where you're trying to get. The obvious way to counter these gunners is you got to get in close to them, because once you're in close to them, they can't do anything in retaliation. All they do is this, right? So they'll do that, or they'll just try to run away. So closing the gap on the gunners is a wise choice, but oftentimes it's really hard to do, especially if they're strafing backwards and they're putting up a fight with all that gunfire. So just kind of choose your engagements on these guys. They don't run out of ammo, so they'll suppress a position all day, but fortunately they are pretty inaccurate. However, there is, and this is like a personal conspiracy theory, there is seemingly like a 2% chance for one of these guys to spawn who is just insanely locked in and will literally never miss a shot. Like, sometimes these guys spawn and they are just spraying bullets randomly just for show, and then occasionally you'll get a guy who's like literally across the entire arena and he does not miss a bullet like at all, and you're like, where the hell is this thing shooting me from? It's just absolutely nailing me, and it's insane. I don't know what causes that, but yeah, it seems to happen, and it only takes one, right, to put you on the ground. It's quite comical in like a very dark way when it does happen. So yeah, definitely a threatening enemy. Put them right in the dead center in terms of power. Enemy that is threatening. Let's find our next tier up, which is going to be the kind of well, no, I wouldn't say this is any higher. I think this is about the same tier, probably. The Mauler. Okay, so the Mauler, an enemy that has threat, right? This is actually a threatening melee enemy, which is a hard thing to do in Darktide. There's a lot of ways to keep your space to enemies these days, as we've seen so far. All the enemies we covered already, they aren't very good in melee. The Mauler here is an enemy that is scary in melee, and that's generally for one reason and one reason alone. That's that this guy can drop an overhead atomic bomb on you. This attack right here. That attack is deceptively small, right? But it can hit you from a long way away, seemingly, and it will kill you. On Havoc, it'll kill you instantly. So yeah, you really gotta watch out for that. The reason these guys are so scary is because, of course, that attack will kill you instantly, and because they aren't that much taller than your normal horde, they don't really stand out. And if they do stand out, let me show you here. You know, you've got your other enemies around them, right? This is sort of what your horde looks like. You got your Mauler in there. Well, you can shoot your Mauler, but his head is carapace. And that's what makes the Mauler really effective, is like, okay, he can get close by being the same size as the horde. You don't really get a whole lot of vulnerable open area to shoot at him and get rid of him. And all it takes is one overhead that you didn't see coming out the horde to drop you. And yeah, these guys are actually quite scary. But I don't think they're any scarier than just being a regular, like, threatening enemy, because these enemies have a fully flak body. And having a fully flak body means that they are very vulnerable to just, like, lots of sorts of damage like that. That means that they honestly don't take that much damage to actually take out. And that's a very good thing for most of the classes in Darktide, is just being able to shoot for the body and take these guys out with a quick blast range damage, or even for like Hive Scum with melee, just like one or two chops will cut this guy right in half. Now we got to go on and talk about the Rager while we're at it. There are two versions of the Rager, though. There's this one, which is, I think, probably a little bit more challenging than the other version, and then the one that's unarmored. These enemies, I think they have had their times in past eras of Darktide where they were like the scary dude to face up against, but in modern Darktide, I really don't think they stand a whole lot of a chance of doing what they need to do. The thing with these Ragers is that they have this combo, right? The scary thing about Ragers is getting yourself back into a position where you can't get away and they get to do their combo. Because if they get to do their combo, they take your stamina really, really quick, and once they break your block, they'll cut you up like really, really fast. Right, and multiple hits in a sequence like that will absolutely gut your HP, and then you're dead. And it's also really hard to find a spot to hit them, because when they're attacking like that, they have a really high stagger resistance. So yeah, they can be quite scary. A lot of new players will die to these enemies because what they're gonna do in most melee engagements is go up and just trade blows. Obviously that doesn't work on the Ragers, because they will trade blows back 2 times as hard and they won't die before you do. So the way you avoid these guys, the way you deal with these guys, is to keep a little bit of distance and just engage sparingly. So I would just, you know, for these guys, I would shout, and I would like stun one, and then I would beat him to death before he does anything. And this guy, I'll hit him a couple times, and I gotta keep my distance in between attacks. But you really just gotta respect them, because once they start doing that attack, they're actually quite deadly. But all it takes is a little bit of CC, a little bit of force CC, like a stun or whatever, to knock them out of it. And of course, they don't have all that much HP. In the current era of Darktide, there's a lot of effects like shouts, like grenades, like flame stab, etc., that can knock these guys out of their animations or can keep them away from you and just kill them at the same time. And so honestly, the days where they were like a very threatening melee enemy that they would get close to you and beat you up, I think those are pretty well past. So I'm gonna rate those guys scary, or not scary unless you're not paying attention, or whatever I'm gonna call that tier. Now we'll go on to some stuff that's a little bit more spicy with our bigger boys here, which we're going to start with the Reaper. Okay, so Reapers, actually scary enemy. These guys are really, really terrifying. You need to watch out for Reapers in all facets. A single Reaper can be the death of you. I've lost count of the number of times that I have come into a room and there's been a Reaper in there and I'm like, oh shit. And I don't have a cooldown up to stagger him or whatever it might be. And he starts to get shooting on me. And like, these guys will take your toughness. Like, remember how long it took the gunner to take my toughness a second ago? They'll take your toughness and then they'll take all your health in a fraction of a second. Watch this. That's fast. That's really fast. So yeah, you have to be respectful of Reapers. The thing that players oftentimes will do with Reapers is they'll see one who's isolated and they'll be like, I'm gonna get him, and they'll run up there, they'll start to hit him, they'll think he's gonna get like stunned or whatever. I mean, you know, it's 50-50. Sometimes they'll run away. It's not really 50-50, but then occasionally they'll do this, and then you just straight die because you get staggered like that, right? And you can't finish the fight. So make certain when you are going on a Reaper, you're pulling out all the stops and you're making him die before he gets a chance to do that, because they'll put you on the ground like a half-second flat. They are not an enemy to mess around with. If you get caught out of position against a Reaper and there's like one there and you're like, oh shoot, like you know, I could engage on him, I could stealth up on him while he's not paying attention to something, just run away and re-engage from a longer distance or something like that, because yeah, it's not worth it. They'll kill you if you give them the chance. Fortunately, they are really, really weak to like most sorts of damage because they are unyielding. You know, grenades and from the Rumbler kill them instantly, and as do like tons of burn stacks. Flame staff just completely suppresses them. Yeah, they're not that scary once you get them all suppressed, but outright they are. If they get to do their thing, they are really scary. So you got to respect them, especially when you're at medium range or closer. Now we'll talk about the most annoying enemy in the whole game, and not annoying in the way that like it actually affects gameplay, but annoying in the way that this enemy is. I just hate the design of this enemy. It's so boring to engage with, and I just really, really hate when these guys are around. Bulwarks. Oh, and by the way, Reapers, they are one tier higher than Mauler. I don't know what I'm going to call that. Like, these enemies are actually lethal. They are lethal. They are annoying as well. Like, these enemies can be either like really, really annoying and just kind of like an absolute nuisance whenever they're on the field, or they are lethal, or they're lethal. But this enemy here, the Bulwark, this enemy isn't honestly all that challenging or scary. It's just a waste of time, right? How many times have you dealt with an entire horde or whatever, and you're left with like a Reaper behind who's just doing this, and he refuses to put his goddamn shield down, and you finally get like one hit on him, and then you're just waiting and waiting and waiting all day to get hits. You know, certain martial classes like the Zealot have just the worst time with Reapers because they don't have a whole lot usually of weapons in their kit that are like high stagger to open these guys up and punish them. So you're just like waiting all day for the open up attack where you can be like, and get him in the head there. That sucks, and I've always hated the design of these enemies. You know, effectively it's just like an invincible enemy as long as they're just moving towards you like this, because you can't hit around that. And really, they're just like there to cuck you when you've got a big ass horde that's chasing you around and you're trying to get and shoot past them. I guess they do a good job in that sense of kind of being the bulwark, the vanguard for the army, so that the stuff behind them doesn't get hit. But yeah, they're just so annoying. They're not threatening at all. Like, they're not actually going to kill you. The thing they're going to do is when you're going for a revive on your ally, they're going to do that attack. They only really have two attacks, right? They have a sweep like that, and then they have this little shield punch. Do the shield punch. Yeah, that one. That one right there is the one that sucks, because that one actually staggers you out of whatever you're doing. It doesn't do any damage, but if you're trying to get a revive on an ally, and there's one of these guys nearby, it's like a 50-50 whether he'll swing with that big wide swing or if he'll do that punch. If he does the punch with the shield, you get immediately staggered and you lose the revive attempt. And that can just end the game right there. So yeah, respect these guys, especially when you're at close quarters for the punch. But otherwise, yeah, you can leave them until absolutely last. I think these guys are really only threatening if you aren't paying attention and you're letting them hem you into a corner. But as long as you keep circle strafing around the horde, you should be able to cycle them so they can get to the back and you can get at other stuff. Now we'll go on to probably the most threatening elite enemy, which is the Crusher. I think many players would expect this to be among the most threatening elite enemies. The Crusher, you just have to respect, right? The Crusher is a sort of a gear check for newer players, Malice and sort of that area, because a lot of times players enter into those ranks and they are using all sorts of weird weapons that just don't have any efficacy. You know, you go in there, you get the heavy sword and the infantry auto gun, and your gun does nothing against him, right? And damage over time effects do nothing against these guys. You really need to bring armor penetration. You know, of course you can bring crack grenades, and that just solves the whole problem instantly, of course. But these guys, I think they surprise new players a lot because they are so resilient to damage, and underneath that, they have so much HP. And especially if you don't have health bars, you'll never know. Like, this guy seems like he's going to live forever. And in my mind, players are prepared, you know, when they're engaging this guy to dodge the first overhead. But then they start walking towards you, and they're actually quite fast. And they start dodging multiple overheads, and they're just doing this. And they're like, oh no, you know, I'm trying to hurt him. And like, they can keep dodging, but all this time that you're dodging this guy, and maybe you're aiming for his head, you know, think about what else can be going on in the environment too. When you're trying to do all this damage, you're looking up at this guy, which automatically sort of like if he's close to you, it's like limiting your field of view, especially if you're playing on console. Like, you're looking up and you're not seeing the sort of full vision around you. You're also tunnel vision of this guy, because if you do miss a dodge on that attack, you're dead, right? So you are like locked in on what this guy is doing. Meanwhile, there's like everything else in the world that could be attacking you, trappers, sneaking up, whatever. And of course, your spatial awareness is a big issue for players and Crushers, because they will instinctively just start backing up like this against them. I mean, obviously the Crusher's going to close the gap, but they'll back up and they'll be putting themselves in a corner and they don't even know it. So yeah, this guy is not only threatening, but he does his job. He pushes through the front lines. He survives a lot of the, you know, the just kind of like flak fire of damage that would screen out most lesser enemies, and he gets to drop in those 10-ton hammers. And if one of them connects, you're done for. Now, he's a pretty easy enemy to read. I think that, like, the way that you have to go about him is just understanding that his really deadly attacks are going to be channeled like he's like Margit, like from Elden Ring, right? Like, his actual heavy overhead is such a long channel. It's actually not that scary. Most times when I see players getting hit by it, it's because that they like over dodge. They're like, oh my god, and they like dodge like 2 or 3 times because they are like super over eager to get out of the way of it. Whereas if you just like took your time and watch for the animation, it's not that hard to dodge at all. You just got to be relaxed about it. But there is that threat, of course, of just getting one-shot KO'd. And it doesn't take you know, even a good player can get knocked and killed by one of these guys outright, even on Havoc. These guys will kill you instantly if you aren't really respecting what they can do. And they are quite stealthy as well. I should say as well, compared to the Mauler. The Mauler, when he's swinging his weapon at you, he has the sound of the axe, so it'll let you know there's a Mauler in the mix. These guys are big, but, you know, if there's one at an off angle to you, all you hear is roar and like a whoosh sound. You have no idea what's coming. You hear the roar, so there must be a Crusher, but you don't know what attack is coming. And so yeah, that can be a really big surprise, a very unpleasant surprise. But of course, we've got crack grenades to solve that problem for us permanently. This guy is going to go in the very lethal tier, second highest tier. I think there's definitely more challenging enemies, but none that are elites. And I think that rounds out all of the elite pack here. Now we can move on to talking about our friends, the specialists. And let's start with my favorite specialist, my actual favorite, which is the Dog. The Dog is such a great enemy in Darktide. This guy is really easy to kill. I don't know what the heck that was, but he's like really fast. He's really nimble. He's always announcing where he is. Like, you're not surprised by a dog almost ever. There's a ton of enemies in the game that are like way too stealthy, right? That they just kind of like come up on you unannounced. I don't think I've ever really been like, oh my god, that dog was silent. I don't know where it came from, right? You always hear a dog. They're constantly announcing where they are, and they are loud when they move, and they even announce for you very helpfully when they're jumping in, so you can push and not even get hit by them no matter what you're doing. You'll know exactly what the dog is doing. I think this is great design for specials, and they are not hard to rebuff in their attempts at all, as you see there. So, you know, the dog is a disabler, so that's a good point in its basket in terms of like how powerful it is, because a disabler in any sense in this game is really, really scary, because this guy can take you straight out of the game if no one saves you. He can eat your ass like instantly. You'll take a ton of damage, and worse yet, he can like pin you before something else happens. You know, how many times have you been pinned by a dog right when you were about to dodge out of the way of a burster, or a push a burster, or been pinned by a dog and then a plague Ogryn like overheads you or something, right? But the problem for the dog is that the dog is so low HP that like most random chaff fire will take him out at this point. He is super easy to stagger out of everything that he does. So like, you know, just the slightest push, and you don't have to push anywhere near him, like just anything will knock this guy out of his animations. So really, really easy enemy to counter and get rid of. You know, occasionally they'll pounce somebody, but usually these guys aren't a threat at all for anyone that's not an Ogryn, because your push hitbox is so big when these guys are actually leaping that they are not really a threat to actually hitting you, as long as you're paying attention. But I'm going to put these guys in the absolute lowest tier, because I don't think that even if you aren't paying attention, they're all that much of a threat. They'll be like a half second or disable at most if you are, you know, playing kind of near your team. But now we'll go on to the Trapper. Wow. Okay, so I might be the only person in the world who is not going to put the Trapper in the absolute highest tier. The Trapper is a scary enemy, don't get me wrong, but I personally feel that in the current sort of iteration of Darktide, these guys, or these ladies, I should say, are not actually the scary be-all, end-all enemy. Certainly a badly timed Trapper, like when you're wedged in between shit that's here and there and you can't move and oh no, I can't dodge, like then that's when the Trapper is going to come out and they're going to get you. But the fact that Trapper comes in close-ish range and then takes a long time to re-engage and do another attack, you know, they get one shot. If they miss that shot, a lot of times they die as a result, right? So they oftentimes don't really get to have multiple bites at the apple and really a lot of attempts to ruin your game. And that the fact that these enemies expose themselves and get one shot, yeah, you could dodge wrong, you could pay the price there. But if you're playing with your team, a lot of times the Trapper, like how deadly the Trapper is, comes down to how like stupid your team is, right? If you're playing with like your you know, your average IQ Darktide player, when you get trapped by an enemy, you'll be laying on the ground for like, you know, 45 seconds going, guys, I'm just trapped. I'm just trapped. Someone please get me out of the trap. Please get me, guys, please get me out of the trap. You're screaming in voice chat. You're typing it in the text chat. Guys, get me up. Meanwhile, they're clearing everything else in the entire arena and then killing the Trapper before they help you up. They kill the boss and they finish the game and then they come back and they help you up, right? Like that's the sort of attention that normal teams pay to people who are trapped on the ground. And I think that's a big reason for why a lot of people have this like overwhelming bias against like, oh my god, Trappers are the like most deadly enemy in the game. If you have a team who's like paying attention and you see a Trapper shot go off, the Trapper disable, it notifies you like the second your teammate gets hit, and then they get yanked a certain distance and then they're on the ground to be rescued. Good teams will immediately see that happen and go in for the rescue, right? So 07, big salutes to all you Ogryns or veterans out there. You know, the second you see that person get trapped, you're going in there, you're like, boom, get the fuck up, all right, and then you beat the Trapper to death. You rescue the person first, and then you kill the Trapper, because the Trapper's not a threat, because they just use their net, right? So yeah, you get in there, you know, throwing grenades on top of like a if you're a hive scum or something, shooting a rocket or throwing a blinder at the person who just got trapped so that nothing can group around them and beat them to death, clearing that space so you can get in there and pick them up. People with a revive speed, again, absolute salutes to you, you know, taking my advice, because revive speed improves your rescue from Trapper nets by 36%. So yeah, big wins for getting in there and getting people up. And if you can do that, right, the Trapper gets one shot, they'll disable a person for like, you know, 1, maybe 2 seconds, and then if they miss, they don't do anything, and then they die as a result usually because they're very loud about where they are and they have to be visible to do it. So yeah, I think they're definitely a threatening enemy. They're definitely like annoying and potentially lethal, but they aren't that absolute top tier where I'm like, oh my fucking god, trappers, dude. That is going to go to these next enemies here, which is going to start with the Grenadier, the Flame Grenadier. These guys, okay, absolute top tier fucking shitter. I hate bombers in this game. Bombers are so bad. The bomber, the flame bomber, is potentially the more deadly of the two. Okay, so what's so deadly about the flame bomber? It's that when you get hit, if you're in the area of this grenade when it goes off, it staggers you and you can't dodge during that stagger animation. So I'm gonna start spamming the dodge key. Watch, I'm spamming it. See, it took my dodge there. So you actually end up taking damage from that. And the damage from the fire does more damage every tick you stand in it. So taking like 2 ticks is okay. Taking 3, your toughness is almost about to be broken. And then you start taking like crazy fast health damage. Watch. Like that's fast. And the real threat that these bombers have is usually they're not alone, but the fact that they can throw so many of these grenades out, they can stay really, really far away. And because they arc their grenades, they don't need to have line of sight on you. You need to have line of sight to kill them, but they don't need to have it to kill you. And oftentimes they are just the icing on the cake. When there's other stuff going on, you're holding a position, the game seems to know to spawn these guys and put them in just the perfect position where they can Peyton Manning a flame grenade in there and make it so you can't stand where you needed to stand. Oh shit, you're in a fight with the twins and you've got like Rinda who's forcing you into a corner and you've got a bubble that's protecting you from the range captain, and there's tox bombs outside of it. Well, flame bomber is going to spawn in, and he's going to flame bomb the shit out of the inside of that bubble, so you can't even stand in there, right? So like that's what's going to happen. So these guys need to go ASAP. The amount of times where I have seen combats that just go to shit because the 2 enemies that are actually threatening in the arena are a chaos spawn and a flame bomber. And everybody's on the fucking chaos spawn, and there's like 4 flame bombers that are on the periphery, and they're just doing this shit. They're just hurling fire bombs all over the place, making the entire area like unmanageable. First of all, you can't see anything anymore, and second of all this area is no-go. Okay, so like when you're in that engagement with all of those, oh, they just killed themselves, huh? When you're in that engagement with all of these flame bombers and a chaos spawn, the like intent for a lot of players is like, oh, the big scary chaos spawn is who I gotta kill, it's the boss, right? But what's gonna kill you, the chaos spawn? Or is it gonna be the fact that chaos spawn grabs you and these guys barbecue your fucking ass? It's these guys. So please, for the love of God, if you are a ranged character like the veteran, get yourself on Overwatch and just like set up and look for these enemies, because they will spawn in those sort of engagements, and they'll stand way off and they'll just bombard the arena, and your team will thank you for taking them out. Plus they're specialists, so they give you extra cooldown when you're playing veteran. But yeah, so like those guys are super, super deadly. Hate them. Definitely top tier. Fuck you, fuck off with flame bombers, seriously. Now the next tier up, or the next one up to go in that category, the flamer. These guys also suck, seriously. These guys, they are so broken in the way that they function. The way that flamers function is so peculiar. It looks like they're like shooting a flamethrower, right? But what's actually happening here is that you can see the flame actually just starts underneath where I am. So what'll happen is they're not actually like shooting this flamethrower. It's just spawning it like where I'm standing. So that is really annoying because you'll be on some sort of weird elevation. I can't really show it in here, but like even elevation like this, where you think that you're out of the way of a flamer, they'll shoot it at you and you're like, oh, this guy won't hit me up here. And then of course it does. Even if you're like 10 feet up on a staircase, it does. And it hurts bad. And it staggers you backwards as well. So a lot of times you see one of these flamers and he's gonna do his thing and you're like, I'm gonna get you. And then he does his thing. Oh, I was too fast. I'm gonna get you. Okay, I'm gonna get you. I think I broke the flamer. Okay. I'm gonna get you, and I run towards him, and then he flames you, and then you die because you get staggered back like that, and then something else hits you in the back because you didn't move at all, right? That happens a lot because, you know, you're so used to being fast and being able to close the gap, and these guys can actually push you back and completely nullify your momentum. The way you counter these guys is simply just going at an angle really quickly. Well, a little bit more than that. Okay, like that. And then coming in at the off angle at the last second. They don't have that much health, right? And melee does extra damage to them. But the thing, oh, these are mutator flamers. That's why they're a little bit different. Hold on, we can find the real flamer. This one? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so yeah, this is the real flamer. No wonder he was acting a little bit weird. So yeah, this guy here, like, you have to kind of respect that they can lock down an entire area, and this fire lasts a long time. These guys, what they'll do is they typically aren't the thing that kills players, but they are the thing that makes certain that players die when they're on the ground. It always seems to be like these guys aren't around until you are completely locked into a zone, or you've got a mutant or a chaos spawn who's holding you, or a dog, and then they show up. That's when the game is like, oh, I'm spawning 2 flamers, and they come in and they roast you to death. And then when you're on the ground, they continue to roast you, and it makes it impossible for your team to do a recapture and like get you back up. Because what will happen is, like, they're standing on top of you, flaming you like this, right? And you're dead on the ground, and you're burning, so the team can't get you up. And then the team is like, oh, I'm gonna kill them. And they shoot them in the tank, and now there's fire all over you, and you're double burning, and they have to wait for this to go out before they can get in there and actually help you. Or there was someone already helping you, and they detonate that tank, and it blows them off. The fact that the tanks detonate on these guys, the addition of that bumped them up a whole lot in terms of being scary, because now this effect here, it doesn't do direct damage, but once you have shot that tank at all, whatever the damage source is that kills them, it will knock back everyone around them and lay down that fire. So yeah, you really have to be careful not to shoot that tank first, because now if I just go in here and kill him, I'm going to get hit by that, and I'm going to get knocked back. And that can knock your teammates out of like chorus, it can knock them out of res, or whatever it is. It can stagger you and you take other hits. Yeah, it just sucks. Lays down fire, more shit in the ground. Have you noticed a trend where like the enemies that lay down a bunch of shit in the ground, like I hate those enemies, because yeah, they're going to area denial. They're just making the game way harder. And yeah, these enemies are a mess. They cause a huge mess, and they're annoying to deal with. And if one shows up at the wrong time, that's interesting. If one shows up at the wrong time, it's GG. So these guys are a top tier menace. The way that you should deal with them, by the way, is just shoot them in the dick. They are very, very vulnerable to most sorts of damage. You don't need to aim for their headshot. Just shoot them in the dick, and you won't be able to hit their fire pack, and then they won't explode. GG, easy. Okay, let's go on to the next of the specialists, which is the mutant. Okay, mutants, another enemy that is very threatening here. I'm gonna put these mutants in the I think I had to put these in the potentially lethal tier, the second highest tier, the annoying / lethal tier. Mutants are on their own not that big a deal, but they are cursed enemies. These enemies are seemingly spawned into the game whenever you've got a clutch situation and you need to like get somebody up. They are programmed, like they're hard programmed to grab you off of the interact with like less than a quarter second to go. You know, you're helping an ally up from the ledge. Ah, the mutant's gonna get you. Sorry, don't know where the fuck it came from, but it's there. And they're super fast. They're one of the only enemies who's capable of keeping up with how fast players are these days. So they'll chase you through zones if you're going to like run up and get a res or make a play or something like that. And the real scary thing about mutants isn't the direct damage they do, because like of course the direct damage they do is pretty piddly, right? Like look. Oh, I had to know my invulnerability off. But yeah, you get what I mean. Like, that would have done like 12 damage. Let's show it. Excuse me. Let's see how much damage this does. Like, that's no damage, right? That's not scary at all in terms of damage. But it's the amount of time that you spend in the air and crowd controlled. Even if you get yourself pinned against a wall like this, the random, you know, quote-unquote random throw that they do can just be the death of you. Because it seems like these guys are somehow programmed to throw you directly into a shit sandwich of maulers that you can't escape from, or a burster that was already about to detonate, right? How many times have you been like, oh my god, I gotta push this burster, or like, oh, there's a flamer that I'm about to deal, and then a mutant just like gets you, like T-bones you from the side, and then holds you down in a barrel fire or something, and slams you there like 4 times, and you roast to death. it seems like to me, Mutants, you know, slam animation right now, this looks pretty quick, but I tell you, like, there is no longer experience than when a mutant gets you and holds you and slams you on the ground in top of flamer fire or something. That seems to last for an eternity, and that's when you just straight die. And all it takes, right, is one poorly timed mutant charge and mutant grab to just completely unravel a whole situation. One player in your team getting grabbed by this guy and pulled out of the bubble or pushed into something really deadly like, you know, I don't know, an overhead or whatever it might be, it's GG. That person is straight dead. Any amount of crowd control like that that takes a player out of commission for like 3 to 5 seconds is really, really scary already. But the fact that this gets to do damage and can potentially put you into more harm's way as well is super scary. And it seems to be like very, it's not like consistent, but sometimes the enemies will be able to track you and still attack you while you're being held by the mutant. So you'll get like flamers and snipers nearby who can kick you while you're in this, and they'll beat the shit out of you while you're being held by the mutant, or gunners will shoot you, and it just sucks. Like, they'll just annihilate you while you're being held by the mutant. So even getting picked once is like potentially death. And so you got to respect them. How many times have you seen a poor single Ogryn being the last man alive, and he's just getting juggled by these motherfuckers? Yeah, you really have to get rid of them. Fortunately, they take like triple damage from melee, so just get rid of them as soon as they miss their first charge. Just follow up and murder them. Next, we got to go with another absolute top tier GOAT, grossest of all time enemy, the Pox Bomber. Holy shit, these guys are easily the second, no, I'll say the second most annoying in the game currently. The Pox Bomber doesn't throw as many grenades as the Flame Bomber does, but oh my god, these grenades are horrible. They last for an eternity. Like, they are lasting for, let's actually count, let's see. They went off like 3 seconds ago, so whatever my timer is, minus 3 seconds. Yeah, these grenades last for, I'm gonna say like 15 seconds, let's guess. Still going. Oh my lord. You've got to be kidding me. Okay, so cool. Those things last for like 20 seconds. You know, that is bad enough in its own right. And out here it doesn't look that bad, right? But the thing about these pox grenades is they are volumetric. So just like a Burgle slime, if you're in a small enclosed space and they drop pox bombs, it will fill the space, and if another pox bomb goes off in the space that's already smoked, it'll actually just expand that area. So it'll just keep going down the hallway further and further and further. So if you've ever been in a situation where you're like, oh my god, where does the pox gas end? That's why. It just keeps spreading out and getting longer. And at the same time, you know, when you're in those situations where there's a lot of these guys throwing, and typically, just like flame bombers, they spawn more than one at a time, they are completely hidden. You can't actually see where they are. And so they're just continually filling the whole arena with this pox gas. Not only does it damage you and make, you know, your life hell, but it also buffs enemies. It makes them move faster and hit harder and have greater stagger resistance. So it's just like the worst all around. And these guys are so annoying because, like, even letting them throw one tox grenade at like an inopportune time can just like ruin an engagement, because you have to spend 20 seconds not being where you needed to be, and letting enemies get buffed by it, and it's just horrible. These guys are ungodly important to remove from the arena like ASAP. So important that, like, just having someone on your team who's like, oh my god, there's a pox bomber, like, ignore the boss, ignore the horde, whatever it is, run out there and just try to, like, ping randomly in the fog and try to find this motherfucker and get rid of him. Because the more you let them throw, like, it's just gonna keep going and keep going, and they'll continue. Again, they don't need to be able to hit where you are. They just need to be able to hit that anywhere in that first cloud, and it'll keep expanding it and making it bigger and swallowing up where you are, and it sucks. So kill them. Cool. All right, now what do we have left? There's not too much left in terms of specials. I think, in fact, there might only be that's not the right one. This one left. The burster. Fucking burster, dude. Oh my god. Okay, so bursters are cursed. First of all, I don't know what is going on with bursters currently. It won't show it in here because I'm in the Psychanium, right? But bursters, as of, I don't know, 6 months ago or so, have taken on a new strategy. That strategy being they will refuse to detonate whenever they come up to you. It's like a 75% chance that when the burster comes up to you, it's not actually going to detonate in a live game. And what it's doing is it's playing like a prank on you. It's playing like a sick prank. And it's like, JK, I wasn't actually gonna explode. I was just making you waste your goddamn time. And it is so obnoxious because this enemy, if you let it get close to you and it just happens to be the time where it was truly gonna explode and you don't get the push right, you plus whoever's near you is taking a fuck ton of damage. It can kill you instantly if you're playing on like Havoc 40 or whatever and you're like Hive Scum or something. So you like have to respect it and give it the push and give it space, right? But if you do it early, like I can't do it here, I guess I could with Shout, right? If you shove it down early, look how long it takes this motherfucker to get back on his feet and get back to doing what he was doing, right? And to add to that, when these guys spawn in, they usually spawn in a way, let's see if I can get one like to like drop down or something. I don't think I can, but like these guys will usually spawn in a location like that and they'll fall down and they'll have to stand up, which take 5 seconds, and then they'll run at you and you'll push them down because they weren't, it was JK, just kidding. And then they'll spend 5 seconds laying on the ground, then they'll get back up and they'll run it again. And because you cannot take your attention off of them, because during that time where you're not paying attention, who knows, they could just teleport behind you and like, you know, Sorry Nothing Personnel Kid blow your ass up. You are like, you're fixating on them because they're so potentially deadly, you're ignoring other stuff that's going on. So I literally had a situation in a game like yesterday or the day before where the burster, I heard it spawn in, I turned around, it fell off a ledge and it laid on the ground for 5 seconds. I was like, okay, I'm gonna shoot some enemies over there. Okay, I'm ready to push it. It came up, I pushed it. Okay, it didn't do anything. So then I pull out my gun, I'm gonna shoot you to death while you're on the ground. So I start shooting them and a couple of enemies get in the way and it blocks my last bullets and I have to reload. I'm like, God damn it. So then I miss my opportunity to kill him while he's on the ground. Okay, well he's getting up again, so I don't want to shoot him, he's too close. So I go to push him and I get trapped because I spent literally 11 seconds dealing with one goddamn burster that I should have been able to deal with in 3 seconds if he just detonated the first time he was supposed to go. And I have no idea what is causing this. I'm trying to get a modder to make me a mod that, hey, shout out T-Dops, that can actually tell me when they're JK or when they're actually going to detonate, because it's seriously getting that bad. And I don't know if it's an intentional enemy AI upgrade, but it's obnoxious. So yeah, that's the problem with bursters, and that's why they're absolutely god tier in terms of being annoying pieces of shit. They're horrible. They're the most annoying enemy in the game right now because they are time wasters, and when they're not wasting your time, you're dead. They'll kill you instantly. They'll ruin your entire game, and sometimes it just seems like they can come out of fucking nowhere or get you at all sorts of weird angles. Sometimes they'll be silent. They are just like all bugged all the way up and down the whole shebang. They've got the worst of every possible category here. And again, another top tier annoying enemy in terms of area bullshit. Just huge explosions, random explosions hitting everybody, sort of randomly bullshit. Okay. Now on to our final category, bosses. I promise this will be a lot less long-winded than the other stuff. What are we at, like 50 minutes? We're all good. Okay, bosses. First of all, Plague Ogryns. Chumpiest boss of all time. This is like easily one of the least threatening enemies in the game. These guys, I don't know what the design idea is here. I don't know how they're supposed to be threatening in any way, shape, or form. First of all, they're super easy to predict. Like, they telegraph everything. This charge is so long. It's supposed to be like the Minotaur, right? The Minotaur from Vermintide 2. But the Minotaur from Vermintide 2 would charge in way faster, and when he got to you, his attacks afterwards were relentless, right? He would charge you, he would gore you with his horns, and if he hits you, you were gonna go soaring, and then he would continue to follow on you, and he would beat you down with his double axes. And like, he was relentless. You couldn't even figure out like where to get an attack on this guy. Compare that to the Plague Ogryn here, who will spend 8 hours charging in. He'll do no damage with his charge, even if he does hit you, by the way. Let's make sure to have my invulnerability off. Let's see how much damage he does with a charge. Like, watch this. Can you charge? Okay, thank you. Wow, I took 12 damage. I took 12 damage from my top. This is on Auric, by the way. So there's literally no damage with the charge. A charge on, like, with a Minotaur would have, like, taken half your HP. You'd be like, fuck, I'm super fucked. And then you'd be gored and limping around. This guy boosts you far away. Then his attacks, like, moment to moment, don't do, like, anything either. They just kind of shove you around. You can block literally everything he does, right? Like, all these attacks just block, 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 Can I even block his overhead? Like, I'm blocking that, right? Just barely taking any damage from anything. He's so slow at everything he does. And so this guy just ends up being like a punching bag for everybody. He's not scary. And he ends up just like getting mollywopped by everybody on the team. Every form of stagger, grenades, you know, shouts, whatever it is, just pushes him into a corner and beats him to death. He's got no threatening moves because, like, even if he does hit you, it's going to shove you back, and then he's going to be out of range for his next attack. So that guy is in the absolute lowest tier. He's my second pick for an enemy. Well, no, hold on. Let's say third pick. I think the Crusher should have a flak head. I think they should fix whatever the fuck is going on with Bursters, and I think they should buff the hell out of the Plague Ogryn so he's actually scary. But outside of that, you know, I don't think there's too many issues here. Now, we do have to give some credit to... Where's my Demon Host? Okay, so the Demon Host is going to go... I think this is actually perfect, because I have a tier, I already described a tier here, that's like, you know, these enemies aren't threatening if you're paying attention. Perfect example of that, right? Never fight the Demon Host. Done. Easy. Easy, no problem, right? You know, the Demon Host, when they're like this, when they're sleeping, you can do all sorts of stuff. Like, you can get really close to them and nothing will happen. Like, I had to get like this close in order for this guy to get threatened at all. You know, that's the time where you want to get everybody by them and just move on past. And a lot of times the Demon Host, if you get like a little bit further ahead in the map, it'll actually despawn. So if you need to go back, you can go back without worrying about them still being there. The number of players that just walk into these guys, pay attention. Like, Jesus, you know, if you pull a Demon Host, right? If you pull a Demon Host on your team and you're not in like a life or death situation where you need everybody alive, and it's gonna cause your team like a whole bunch of grief to get rid of this thing, just go let it kill you. Like, just let it kill you. Like, if you know that you were the one that stepped on top of it, just go jump off a cliff real quick so that the thing goes away. Because the worst thing about Demon Hosts is they corrupt your entire team's HP. They'll take half of everybody on the team's HP. So, like, just don't let them tax the whole team's HP for free because you did a stupid. But if you have like a you know, a hive scum with a stim supply, then you can prevent that corruption damage. So I guess that's good. But yeah, these guys are just only annoying if they get spawned in. If they do get spawned in though, they're not all that scary. They're just kind of hard to hit because they're always clipping through the floor and stuff. But shouts and grenades and things like that will straighten them out real good. These guys, on the other hand, are quite annoying. Beast and Nurgle. Beast and Nurgle are... Why is he not animating? Okay, there we go. Okay, I don't know what he's doing. Beast and Nurgle are one of the more interesting bosses. I don't really like them because they're just like kind of like annoying. They just take way too long to fight, I feel like. But kudos to them for designing a boss that isn't just like chasing you around and beating you down. This is an area denial boss, right? So the whole thing with the Beast Nurgle is that he's gonna puke like that, and then he's gonna chase you around and try to puke on you more. The thing that you have to worry about for the Beast Nurgle is, of course, being eaten and being vored forever. The Beast Nurgle can't eat you unless you're puked on. So I can just be right here. Am I puked on now? Okay, it wasn't showing it. But yeah, if you're puked on, you can be eaten. But if you aren't puked on, you can't be eaten. So you can abuse like the fact that you aren't puked on to make this guy pay for that. And what you really want to do with this guy is you want to get right up on him. And, well, I'm having a hard time here. Oh, I just spawned a second one accidentally instead of make myself stealth. What you want to do with these guys is get right up on them and make them like turn around constantly. And if you are not the active target, if you're not puked on, he'll be focusing on whoever is puked on, and then whoever isn't can get behind him. And what you'll see is if you're behind him and hitting him back here, okay, well, he's only going to focus on me because I'm the only player in existence. But if you're behind him and he's not your focus, he'll instead try to do his little tail slap attack or his body slam attack, and that'll waste a ton of time. Instead of chasing down and potentially pinning and killing the one guy who's like trapped in a corner against him and eating them, which is what you really don't want to have happen, you can waste his time by making him continue to body slam and tail slap and try to do his melee attacks instead of actually getting to his intended feast target. And yeah, it sucks when someone gets isolated and picked by one of these guys, because sometimes they'll release them really quickly. If you got a grenade or something, you can cause them to release instantly, but sometimes they'll just take them for a ride and they're gone for like 8 hours. I have no idea what the actual logic is behind when it releases someone from their stomach, But yeah, sometimes it seems like they'll throw you up instantly because maybe they run out of areas to like sort of move into, and sometimes they'll just go for days without vomiting you up, and it's kind of random at that. I think these guys are pretty standard threatening, like it's an actually threatening enemy, but of course things like Bubble 100% shut this guy down because it magically dematerializes his vomit, and therefore he can't even consume anybody, and you can just face tank him. They're slow, and a lot of times the damage on teams nowadays is so high that they can just get annihilated. Remember that his mouth is actually his weak spot, and then this is like a secondary weak spot. This one does some pretty good damage, but the mouth does even more. So yeah, focus on mouth if you can, especially when he's got his little tongue out, or whatever you call that. I don't know. I think it's weird. Okay, and then we've only got one more real boss left, which is the Chaos Spawn. Where is he? He's somewhere here. Hope you guys are having a good day. Okay, there's Chaos Spawn. Okay, so Chaos Spawn. Chaos Spawn is all sorts of fucked up, right? I think that the Nurgle corruption made him the most jank boss in the game. So he has that attack. That's his like classic attack, right? The grab. Well, guess what? The grab attack is wrong in this game. You ever dodge and you're like, wait, why am I dodging into the tentacle to not get grabbed, right? Why am I not dodging away from where the tentacle is? Why does dodging on the side that the tentacle isn't? I think he's gonna do it here in a second, I'll watch. If I dodge where the tentacle isn't, I'll still get grabbed. What's going on there? Turns out what's going on there is that this guy's actual like hurt box, you know, his wireframe model, the invisible model, is flipped. So his tentacle in the wireframe is actually on this side, and it grabs this way from this side when he does the grab animation. So you dodge this way, which actually on the invisible model is like over there. And this guy is also disjointed in his hitbox when he does this. If you ever notice, like, this guy seems like he's hitting you from like way further away than he actually is when he's doing these attacks. Like, look at this. Like, he doesn't look like he's anywhere near me with that little rolling stomp attack. And if you're behind him and trying to chase him around, if you've ever been this, you're chasing down one of these guys, you know, look at, I can't get anywhere near him. Why is that? Why can I get like right up on this guy's face, kinda, but then like back here I can't get anywhere near him? Well, it's because his hitbox is super disjointed, and when he's leaned forward like that, doing that little slappy running forward attack, his actual like physical like model is like way back here, and then his like appearance is like up in front. So yeah, he's like super disjointed from where his visuals actually look like he is. He's an absolute mess. Like I said, I think he got corrupted somewhere along the way, and that's just responsible for what he's like. Is this guy actually threatening? He's definitely way more threatening than the Plague Ogryn is, for one reason and one reason alone, and it's the grab, right? The grab single-handedly sets him above the Plague Ogryn. There's nothing the Plague Ogryn can do to you that will like end the game, right? He can push you around a whole lot, but like this guy can straight up end the game by grabbing somebody and picking them up. And usually it's not them getting grabbed and being picked up that kills them. It's the fucking clarion call that goes out as soon as you get picked up by a Chaos Spawn that says, hey boys, I got one. Summon 2 flamers, and there they'll show up. They just like come out of this guy's asshole and they start roasting you. It's pretty much without fail that will happen. So yeah, you have to respect the grab, dodge into the tentacle so that you can avoid the tentacle, or dodge back. It works best if you like, go kind of a diagonal angle as well. But yeah, if you miss one dodge on that grab, you can lose the game on the spot. So I gotta give them the respectable, you know, this is an actually threatening enemy category. And then we'll go on to our very last enemy for today, which is the classic, just regular captain. I don't want to talk about the twins because the twins are only in special game modes like Havoc, but I think it's important to mention the captains. Captains come in a bunch of different configurations. Let me see how many configurations I can get here. Did I get it? Yeah, okay, so there we go. So they have 2 ranged weapons, 2 melee weapons. I did a whole video on captains if you want to see how to like specifically counter these guys, but they're super dope and cool looking. But they have 2 melee weapons. The scary melee weapon is the sword. The sword is scary as fuck. The mace is not scary. The guns they have the shotgun and they have the plasma gun. Plasma gun, scary. Shotgun, not scary. So if you get a good roll and you've got the mace and the shotgun, these guys would be like pay attention and you won't die tier. If you get the other inverted version where you have the sword and the plasma gun, especially if you're on Havoc and these guys have like the red buff or whatever where they can't get crowd controlled, look the fuck out. Because those slashes, the Omni slash they'll do, let me show you. Does he have the sword? Yeah, he's got the sword. Watch this multi-slash attack here. Not that one. This one he's about to do right here. Not that. Do the thing. Oh my god, do the thing. This one. That attack right there, so deadly. And what that attack will do is it'll hit people that aren't aware, right? What can happen is that guy on his third, I think it's like his third attack in that combo, he can turn and throw it on a random other ally who's nearby. So someone will be behind him hitting him, and he'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and he'll just like smash them in the face, and it does a lot of damage. So if their toughness is down for some reason, yeah, you're gonna get hurt real bad, maybe killed. And if you're not paying attention, this guy can come up on you with a sword like that, and he just is kind of relentless if you choose to do that attack over and over and over again. So these guys, you kind of just gotta like go all in on them. Use weapons like the shock maul here that are really, really good at dealing with these shields and just melt them down and continually break their shields and put them into that stagger animation. You also kind of have to respect the amount of time it takes to kill captains because they do get that shield gating, so you're gonna have to kill them effectively 4 times. It's gonna take a bunch of time every time you do it to get the shield back down over and over and over again, which sucks. But you know, they're not that threatening outside of that because they're kind of slow, they're small, they're not going to force you into positions generally, they're not big and bulky like bosses are. And so I'm going to give them the, like, I'm going to split the difference, right? If you get the sword guy, typically the sword is like the actual scary part of it because you have to melee them at some point. If you get the sword guy, he'll be in that higher tier of like potentially deadly, annoying enemies. And if you get the mace guy, he's in the pay attention, you won't die tier. So I'm going to split the difference and put them in that middle tier of, hey, this is actually a threatening enemy. And there you go, guys. So just for a visual, here's the full tier list. Hopefully that that makes sense in terms of where I rated enemies. And I drew this up after the fact, so hopefully it makes sense. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me. I love you. I'll see you next time. Mystery out. Bye-bye.